7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into the next edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. Sitting here in the virtual Zoom studio. We got myself, we got Spike, we got Token Tony in here, and we are going to discuss the NHL's declaration of Edmonton and Toronto as the two hub cities for when we resume postseason play in the NHL. I know that the NHL was discussing Vegas. We'll get to that a little bit later, our thoughts on that. But let's thank the sponsors here before we dive in. First and foremost, 12-Ounce Sports Network, where we are broadcasted in both audio and video formats. Be sure to check out all the shows at 12ozsportsnetwork.com. While you're there, please make sure to check out the 12-Ounce store, where you can find everything from golf polos to coffee mugs, beach towels, phone cases, and so much more. Visit 12ozsportsnetwork.com today. We are also, if you're watching now on Zingo, we are broadcast on Zingo TV. We are sponsored by Zingo TV. It is a streaming service on your iPhone, Android device, smart TV, etc. Please use promo code 12OZ when signing up for a new account, and it is 100% free. Download Zingo TV today from your app store and catch our show and the rest of the 12-Ounce Sports shows at channel 761. All right, let's talk hockey here, boys. The league is expected to announce Toronto and Edmonton as the two locations where Eastern and Western Conference teams will play the 24-team format, which we've discussed in a previous podcast. I've mentioned before when we talked about Vegas even being a potential hub, I know that they have to get all the logistics and everything, but I don't really believe that, even though there's no fans in the stands, I don't believe that these playoffs should be hosted in cities that still have playoff teams. Tell me I'm crazy. There is a sense of home field. Like, imagine if it was in Vegas. Even though there's no fans in the stands, Vegas being on their home ice is an advantage. And I know that they had discussed moving into the other side, which is stupid in my opinion. But the fact that if Toronto and Edmonton, the only thing I can see being okay is if Edmonton plays its games in Toronto and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about staying in your home city in order to be able to play in the playoffs. I know there was talk that, I forget if it was the NHL or NBA when they were originally discussing hub cities, that if it was placed in a team that was still in contention, that was still playing, that all the members of that team, staff and players alike, would have to stay at the hotel so they didn't get that kind of quote-unquote advantage by going home every night. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I don't necessarily hate the idea of people being able to play in their home city. There's no fan in the stands. There's no home field advantage. If they're staying in the hotel, then they're getting the same treatment as everybody else. If they're limited by resources, like if you can't have your trainer run out to your practice facility to grab something that they forgot in the office, then you don't have anything above and beyond what anybody else is getting. I didn't see a problem with it at the time.
What about you, Token?
I mean, it makes sense what they're doing. I mean, they're trying to probably make sure that all the media, all the staffing, and all the players are going to be safer, and I think that approach was picking the two Canadian cities, unfortunately. I mean, as good as it would have been for the economy in the United States city, I mean, I think it's just a little too unsafe by their parameters right now, especially trying to get this going instead of delaying it even further and Spain and have it as a lost cause. So, I mean, just...
Oh, was that the end? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. I mean, they're planning on having the training camp come back in about a week and a half on the 13th, and then the teams going to the hub cities starting towards the end of the month and then restarting it beginning in August.
I mean, what would be a problem with, like, say, having Detroit, sorry, Token, like, host this thing? I mean, I think the bubble city concept is going to be a little bit more difficult in hockey than it is in the NHL, or excuse me, in the NBA, because it's not easy to just build 5, 6, 7 ice rinks like it is to build NBA courts. So they're pretty much going to be playing on 1, maybe 2 rinks, which I think they could have done it in a city where there is no, because like say you had it in Vegas, or say Toronto is going to host with the Maple Leafs there. Yes, you can't go home, but like I'll use Vegas. This is a better example. You can't go home in Vegas, but you don't think they're going to be out on the strip getting pats on the back, love from all of the Vegas residents, and they're going to see all of the warmth and emotion that the Vegas fans are pushing toward them. Again, if Edmonton has to go to Toronto and Toronto has to go to Edmonton, it's understandable. I'm not worried about the Maple Leafs. They suck anyways. They're going to blow every chance they have at actually trying to advance in this playoffs. But
Typical Leafs.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it just seems to me that or maybe, you know what would have been cool? I know you can't have fans, but I would have been interested to see Gary Bettman put this in Houston, just to see what the love. They've been talking about a Houston franchise. Excuse me. They've been talking about a Houston franchise. I mean, what about a place like Houston, just to see if there's any excitement, like people are going to the bars to watch the game, or see if people in Houston are watching the games on TV. It's not the greatest solution, but I thought that might have been an interesting thought process. I mean, do something like that.
I mean, I think if there were more thoughts that the league is planning on expanding beyond when Seattle comes in, the 32 teams, that Houston probably would have been an interesting test case. But I think once they get Seattle, then they're going to stand pat for a while, unless a team like Florida decides that they want to move.
Well, that should always be in the back pocket with Arizona, Carolina, and Florida.
Sure. I think Carolina's done enough over the last couple of years. You know, winning cures all, and winning the last couple of years. I mean, they were, in the Eastern Conference final this past year.
Right.
So I think they're going to be okay for a couple of years at least. Then it'll die down, and then we'll see what kind of fans they really have.
Right. When they make the Eastern Conference Finals, it's not hard to sell tickets. It's when they're playing the Panthers on a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. That's where, Vegas is full and Carolina is giving away tickets.
Yeah. No, I get that.
I just thought maybe, especially if fans were allowed in the stands, I thought maybe Houston would be an interesting, like a little test subject. But obviously that we know they're not. But I don't know. It was just a thought. It just to me, even though hockey is a Canadian sport, the NHL is predominantly dominated by American teams. It just felt this decision was based solely on COVID. And I think there's probably some cities here in America that are doing a better job than Vegas at controlling the COVID. It just seemed I don't know. Maybe they did. I'm sure they did. I don't doubt that they did. It just feels like they didn't put a lot of thought into this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to his credit, Ken at Sinbin actually had a really good point of, if the entire idea was, you have a bubble and therefore the players and the staff are protected and shouldn't get the virus, then it shouldn't matter where the bubble exists, because if you're in a bubble, you're in a bubble, and the outside area shouldn't influence that decision. It's just what's the best for logistics, in which case, everybody knew Vegas would have been the best logistically because of the proximity of the hotel rooms to the arena, the number of practice arenas around, and their ability to go from place to place pretty easily. The fact that they're putting it in Toronto and Edmonton, probably says a lot about the way Canada as a nation, rather than these individual cities, are responding to the virus. And I think that's more of a, they don't trust the United States as much as they trust Canada. Therefore, it's easier for them to go up that way. Plus, when you're talking about immigration issues as well, Canada said that they don't want Americans coming in because of the virus. Are the NHL players going to get an exemption from that? I still haven't heard as to whether or not that's going to be the case.
I would imagine that they spoke to whoever they need to speak to. I'm just going to use him because he's the only guy I know in charge of Canada is Trudeau. So I'm going to imagine they spoke to Trudeau's administration and came up with a plan to do this before they just announced it. So
I would hope so, but we've seen plenty of ready, fire, aim scenarios when it comes to professional sports. So I don't take anything for granted at this point.
That's fair. Well, like you said, and let's talk about the Vegas aspect of this. I think logistically it would have made sense because, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if either of you have been down to the Strip here recently, but I believe New York, Excalibur, and Park MGM are not open.
I have no idea.
I think New York is, from what I've heard, or at least they were planning on opening it up in the beginning, but I don't know exactly what happened.
Now, we talked about some previous podcasts. I think New York, MGM would be smart to shut those two casinos, Park MGM and New York, house all the teams, and then leave those casinos open specifically just for hockey players and staff. I mean, if anybody's got the money and if anybody's the high roller, it's professional athletes over the common guy flying in, dropping his 20 on some Leicester City futures bet and leaving.
That seemed far too specific for you to have just pulled that out of your ass.
Sounds like something Aaron's has done.
Vegas Golden Knights, 500-1. But you're right. Canada has seen their COVID caseload decline, and that may be kind of a reward, so to speak. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head which cities in America have seen their caseload decline, because as we slowly opened, it seemed everybody kind of spiked. But we expect that. So I wonder how the players have felt. I mean, if you're going to be in NHL action, you want to be in tip-top shape. Nobody really wants to catch the COVID, even though we know that 99.9% of the NHL players, probably even 100%, will survive this. But missing the action could be huge for a team competing for a Stanley Cup. So I don't know. I kind of agree with Sinbin in the sense of, I think MGM or the Strip could have done something to ease the mind of Gary Bettman and the NHL to say that, look, hey, if you come here, we'll shut down this quadrant of the Strip. I don't know if Las Vegas really has the authority to do that, but I'm sure I'm willing to believe if MGM knew they were getting, let's see, there's 25 guys on a hockey team times 24, 600 and something players plus staff, they'd make a concerted effort to shift the rest of the general public away from that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've talked about the revenue. We talked about, I wasn't really a big believer in how I would see the revenue come to Vegas, but, Spike, you talked about it. Any revenue right now in Vegas is huge.
Yeah, I mean, anything would have helped. And, the fact that we're not getting this money is definitely a detriment, especially to, not just the state tax base, but for all those who rely on tips, for all those who rely on those casinos to be open to work. This was definitely something that would have helped the city out tremendously. And to not have this opportunity is unfortunate, but, it's the reality of it is that we screwed it up and we're paying the price for it. At least that's the perception of this, is that if Vegas was never in the contention in the first place, then maybe it was never in our hands. So
we wouldn't be so mad at that point. But the flip side, as it just looking at it from the casual fan aspect of the game, it's on TV. I really don't care where it is. But you're right, from a financial standpoint, it does suck that even if it was a little bit of money, 7-8 figures. That's 7-8 figures that's not going here. It's going somewhere else. So.
Yep.
So anyways, just curiosity on that one. I'm kind of bummed that they're not, but I'm ready for hockey to play. So we'll have to see. I'm sure Toronto and Edmonton are more than ready to host NHL playoff hockey. So congratulations to them. And
just get it started. Let's go. I need to see it.
That's the big thing.
That they need to get the ball rolling and look forward instead of what ways can this be screwed up.
Yeah, eventually, I think that's the thing is who's going to be the first one to go? Because you have the MLB trying to start a season. You have the NHL and NBA trying to finish a season, and it seems like they're just slowly pushing each other back a day. Who's going to be like you said, Spike, who's going to be the ready, fire, aim? Who's going to be the one who fires first?
Yeah. When is the NBA restarting? Do we have a date on that? Set to resume July 30th.
I think NHL is August 1st.
August 1st. I think Major League Baseball is August 1st as well. So
they're going to let the NBA fire first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one day.
As of today, 2 days.
2 days. Yeah. So if if there's any problems, then there's really not enough time for the NHL to adjust unless they actually just hit pause and push things back even further.
And maybe they're saying that to their teams, like, hey, look, get yourself ready. But, I mean, I could see Gary Bettman just being that emoji that's just I don't know. So. The
good thing is that I have my birthday is that first week of August, so I could actually take that week off. My boss is saying that she owes me a vacation, so I could take that first week of August off and just sit down and watch live sports all day and participate in the WSOP online because the GG pokers.
Let's hope you don't take that off in vain and everything's paused.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be. Kill me.
Crash and burn.
Happy birthday! Here's your 1997 Stanley Cup replay.
Yeah.
Oh shit! What time?
That was a good year.
A couple hours. They got the '96 All-Star Game re-airing on Nesson today at 3 p.m. Pacific, and it's one of Ray Bork's greatest All-Star games. So I wanted to make sure I recorded that one.
Cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I dig it.
All right, so let's wrap it up here. So if you're tired of the same old bland bag of beef jerky, please grab a bag of Wicked Cuts today, the most tender jerky you can get your hands on. 2 new flavors have arrived, Carolina Killa and the Applewood Smoked Bacon. Pick up a bag today at many local nutrition shops or at wickedcuts.co. If you go online to wickedcuts.co and use promo code WICKED20 at checkout, you will get 20% off of your full purchase. If you're looking for the most delicious barbecue in Albuquerque, New Mexico, please make sure to check out Fat T's Barbecue. They will deliver vacuum-sealed meat by the pound for free to you in the Albuquerque area. Please visit them online at fatteesfood.com and also chaipoker.com, Vegas Square's oldest and first sponsor. Chai Poker was founded in January of 2016 as an organization dedicated to poker and charity. Chai, the Hebrew word for life, often used in Jewish culture. So Chai Poker is a combination of life and poker, a.k.a. the poker life. If you've had a big score recently, please consider making a donation to chaipoker.com as they have been helping out various charities across Southern Nevada since January of 2016. All right, boys, like you said, Spike, I'm just ready to get some hockey. Hopefully his birthday is not in vain and he can watch some live sports on the ice.
Yeah, instead of the 97 Stanley Cup final.
Exactly. I don't even know what that is. Who's the 97 Stanley Cup final?
Red Wings.
All right, for Spike, for Token Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. NHL, if you're listening, change and reconsider Vegas. Thanks. Catch you on the next one.